All right. So, I'm going to try to keep this as still as I can. I'm going to talk for just a minute about the fine tuning argument. So, here's my thoughts on it. We have before us a piece of rock. In this case, it's a clay drain tile that was never used for anything, shattered, whatever. I kept a piece of it. Now, the question is we want to know if there's a way we can determine whether or not the universe was designed, right? So we know a few things about this piece of rock. Can we say if this thing was designed? Well, yes, the clay pipe was, but for our purposes, this could just be, a stone in the field, whatever. I know I've done one like this before. But the bigger question is when it broke, okay? Was this designed? Now, keep that in mind for just a minute. It has a particular shape. You know it came from a larger piece, whether it's a rock or a piece of pipe or whatever, okay? But keep it in mind for just a minute because I also have this. This is the universe creator, the Lawmaker 5000. Okay. So, now we have a broken piece of stone. Can you tell me, if we look, I can spend a little bit of time right here, and we can probably see, that it fits more or less together. We can also see, that looks like it was designed to fit together. You can see the crack is basically gone, even though it's clearly still there. So the question is, did I design that crack? I mean, it's gone, right? The crack is no more, except, it's still clearly there. The fact that it has all these little ridges that match up basically perfect, we're just going to discount the dust for this. But yeah, if I gathered it all up, I could make it all fit back together. So the question is, did I design that right now? Did I say, because I tapped it with the hammer, it must break exactly in this way? If I look here, I can see all the fine detail, the peaks and the dips and the lines, the vectors, if you will, the corners, the flat surfaces, and so on. I can give each one of them a name. I can say the points are A, the flats are C. I can say the dips are T, and so on. And I can say, look how perfectly they fit together. Why, there must be information here that is useful because I labeled them and it tells me where they fit together. So that must be information, right? No, I don't agree. Because I don't believe that I designed anything when this broke. If this just broke out in nature, like the original surface that I showed you, would you still say that was designed if no one had done it and it just cracked over time? Same idea when it comes to DNA. Just because I label the parts of this and they fit together and they tell me how they fit together and they tell me how it presents as this. It expresses as a solid surface, even though it no longer is, and arguably wasn't to begin with. That's a different question. But did I design it? Is there a code that exists even in this part right here? The question would remain, I want you to tell me, before I break it, where is it going to break? Okay? You have all this information right here. You know the dips and the valleys. You know when I crack it, it's going to have exactly the same code I can use to describe how it broke. So before I tap this, and you know the code, can you tell me where it's going to break specifically? I wonder. I mean, you have the code right there. It's information. It already exists inside this piece here. Clearly, you must be able to tell me if this is information, if this is useful information, and not just a random thing that happens to look like it fits together on purpose. You should be able to tell me before you look at it which direction the crack's going to go. Is it going to go this way? Is it going to go this way? How many little surfaces are there going to be? I can tell you right now that there will be a crack on one side to match the other before I break it. Does that mean that I designed it to break exactly the way it broke right there? I don't think so. I wasn't really paying attention to how it came apart, but that's not really the point. So we can see, I can start piecing it back together, and I think we can agree, apart from the little bit of dust that was lost, which I could hypothetically shove back into here, we can see how they fit together, you know, almost perfectly. It's easier for a small piece, but I can easily put all the pieces back together. So the question is, if you're telling me this is a code, and you're telling me that the fact that this side matches this side and that we can label the different parts of it is somehow a code, then can you tell me that it was going to break into exactly the number of pieces it did, including all of this? Because this includes all the same terminology to describe it as DNA, or as anything else, as the fine-tuning argument, as the laws of gravity we observe being different from other laws of the universe. When the universe started to split apart, if we could slow this way down, like the slow-mo guys do, you can see it on the glass breaking or whatever, the laws of the universe are very much the same way. The Big Bang happened. The Big Bang is the center of the universe, okay? Everything expands from it. To ask what's before it doesn't make sense. And it's for this exact reason. As the universe expanded, the parts came apart. When this was one piece, it was like the singularity. And then you can say the strong and weak force very specifically dictate how this is going to break. Right there. Gravity and electricity don't play into it as much, but I mean, they do. Same idea, though. But we're sticking to the fine-tuning argument, or, you know, did somebody make everything? The fact that these two have inverted topology, and they fit together just like opposite strands of a DNA, does that mean I designed them, or that someone designed them to do that every time a rock breaks? Every time DNA splits and comes back together, whether it's on its own or not. If I pour vinegar and baking soda right here, and they fizz up, does that mean the vinegar and baking soda have some information that tells them to form gases? I don't think so. I think it's just a thing that happens. DNA, RNA, their reactions are exactly the same, just much more complex. Like this. The basic structure of it is there, but if I want to describe all the parts inside of it, that doesn't mean there's a hidden language here just because I describe the various parts of the rock. And just because they fit together perfectly, just because gravity works and happens to pull this object that has mass towards the object under my foot that has mass, it's exactly the same thing. It doesn't need a designer any more than this does. I did not design the clay pipe. I didn't design the layout that's in it, and neither did anybody else. It's just stuff that exists. And people might even go so far as to say, well, how can a thing begin to exist? Well, again, I don't think they did. The parts of this clay pipe already existed in nature, and existed basically for all of time. Because again, when you understand that the beginning of time is the center of the universe, you will understand how you can compress this infinitely until you can compress it no further. And then it's like asking, well, what happens if you compress it more? It's already at the center point. You can't go beyond the center point without going somewhere that isn't the center point. But again, we're just doing the fine-tuning argument here. This is just a quick little 10-minute video I thought would be very interesting. If you find some fatal flaws in it or whatever, go for it. Bring them up. But at the same time, just because they fit perfectly together, just because they appear to be made for one another, doesn't mean they are. And just because I can label all the parts, doesn't mean there's a hidden language or code in there that someone designed. It just simply is the way it is. In exactly the same way, the massive objects attract.